Hi, my name is Anthony Raneveld, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about at least one way that you can monitor your BlueCat appliances. Now, I don't know if you're monitoring today, you might be using the integrated um, solutions built into BlueCat in terms of reporting, notifications, using syslog redirection, and consuming that in Splunk, for example, and then creating dashboards and reporting on the data in Splunk. Um, and that's awesome if you are. It's just one of the products that I use with not only my customers but also at home is I use Nagios. I mean, there's other products that are really awesome as well, but Nagios is a great product that you can definitely try out. It's really simple to use. Again, it's a monitoring solution that monitors critical components, your applications, your system servers, like your BlueCat appliances. You can use your own add-ons, so you can build your own add-ons via APIs, and it does come with thousands of third-party add-ons as well. So it has a big user base. There's a lot of different products, a lot of different add-ons in Nagios that you can utilize. So, it doesn't matter where your service, your application, your appliance is. You can definitely use Nagios to monitor those services. So really, this demo is just this video. Really, is just to show you how to set this up in BlueCat, which is actually quite simple. And then from there, I'm going to take you over to Nagios and show you via the wizard how to monitor a BDDS, which is the same process in adding the BAM, the BlueCat Address Manager, the IPAM, and or any other service in BlueCat. Okay, so I'll start off with opening up BlueCat Address Manager. This is the latest and greatest version, 9.6. So what we want to do first is go to administration, and then let's go to service configuration. Service type, I'm going to select Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. Now, if this is not set, which if you're a production environment, you 100% have this set up already, but if it's not, you would select Enable SNMP. All this information doesn't matter. I mean, it matters in production, obviously, but what's important in this demo is in terms of the polling period, I've set it to 5 seconds. Of course, in production, that would be too quick. But again, this is just for testing. And then I'm using SNMP version 2. Again, that's not recommended at all in a production environment, in an enterprise environment, but just to make it simple, I'm using this. So I'm going to select update. Okay. And then the next step is I'm going to go to the service tab. And I only have one BDDS server, and I've set the role of DNS, primary DNS within the internal view. I've set it within that view. Okay, and that doesn't really matter, but other than the fact that it's only running DNS and not dhcp. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the down arrow here, and I'm going to select service configuration. Okay, and then for service type, I'm going to select SNMP, because this is how we're going to be monitoring our BDDSs, or in this case, our BDDS, our DNS server. So again, if it's not selected, we're going to select it, and then we're going to fill in all this information. What's important again is the polling period, the log level, how verbose you want the logs to be. I'm just going to set the info, again, using the same version and the same community string. I'm going to hit update. Okay, I'm going to go back to the service tab. So just a note, if the management IP is different than the service IP, when we go into Nagios, which is on my left-hand side, we want to use this IP address. Okay, so let's switch over to Nagios. And this is the home screen dashboard. And I have 2 devices that I'm monitoring today, one including the BAM. But what I want to do is I want to add the BDDS, the DNS server. I want to start monitoring it. So what I'm going to do is go to Run a Wizard. Okay, and then under filter, I'm going to go to Linux because BlueCat runs on top of Linux. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Linux SNMP, monitor Linux workstation or server using SNMP. Okay, and again, this is the service IP address, so 192.168.3.101. All right, so version 2C, default port, and then the community string, which I need to copy. So I'm going to go back into service configuration, and I'm going to copy that community string and paste it here. Next. So what it's doing now, it's actually pulling the data from the BDDS. And if it's successful, you're going to see what you see on my screen right now. So server metrics, you can already see it's able to pull the CPU, memory, swap memory, disk usage. So for disk usage, you can really select whatever you want here. These are all the different directories. Again, you probably want to select all of them. In most cases, you don't want to select all of them, but you can. But the most important ones would be the replicated jail named. That would be important. The replicated directory, var directory. These would be important directories to monitor. And then there's also thresholds that you can set. And you can add more rows as well. If there was more, if we selected all of these, we would have to add more rows to include them all. Now, there is 189 processes running on this server. Okay, and depending if it's a physical server, for example, I mean, there are certain processes that we want to monitor. This is virtual. So some of the things that I'd like to monitor is, for example, NS update. That's important to me. Bind mon. That's important, right? CPU is also important. If you have any cron jobs running, being able to monitor your cron jobs would be invaluable, especially if they don't, if you have some type of rotation or, syslog redirection they have configured, that's important. Let's see here. What else can we select for this demo? Named, definitely important for a DNS server. That's super important. So I'm going to select named. Name daemon, that's also important to monitor. What else? What else can we monitor? Okay, syslog service. I mean, that's super important. I'm going to add another row because I think there's a few more we can monitor here. Yeah, there's also a PSM. Let me see if I can just, right. So this is also a super important one, especially for BlueCat. This is specifically built by BlueCat, this service. And when this service doesn't work, bad things happen. So this is very important to monitor. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go next. Okay, monitoring the host and service every 5 minutes. I'm going to set to 1 minute. Okay, just because, again, this is a lab environment. Okay, pre-check, and then minutes up to 5 times before sending a notification. Okay, next. Okay, and you have different ways of getting notified. So this is pretty cool, right? You can be notified immediately if something bad happens. You can make it wait for a period of time before you get notified. And you can be notified via multiple different ways. You can use a webhook for Splunk or Teams. You can get notified via a group, email group or email address, right? So there's multiple different ways. You can also integrate this with ServiceNow, so you get an alert that's pushed and a ticket's created automatically. Okay, so I'm just going to hit next. This is part of a Linux group. That's fine. Next, and then You can also, now this is pretty cool. So you can save as template, which I've already done. So you can actually use a template for every additional BDDS or service point that you want to manage. So rather than going, next, you can actually apply this template every single time you add a new BDDS. So, or a new service point. So finish and apply. It's running the wizard. It's done. So now if I go to my home dashboard, I can see I have three different hosts in here. So if I go in there, now, actually, I should have named this to BDDS so it was a little bit more clear, but this is my BDDS. I can see that it's up, duration, the status, which is great. If I select on it, right, I have different things that I can see, right? Everything looks good, right? So it's pretty cool. It's actively monitoring everything. It's pulling every 5 seconds. So I can see named is okay, which is important to me. So that's really it. It's really that simple. I'm monitoring three different servers. Um, there's different types of views. There's a tactical overview of those services. There's a bird's eye view, which is great. And so the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a just a really hit home on what this can do. I've logged into my BDDS, and what I'm going to do here is, and it might be here. Let me actually make sure that I'm logged in. I might not be anymore. Okay, I am. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, within BlueCat, I'm logged into the DNS server. And what I'm going to do is run a command called PSM client. This is case sensitive. And what I'm doing here is I'm getting a list of all the services that are running on this server. And one of those services is DNS, which is enabled. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an incident where I'm going to shut down the DNS service. So I'm going to type in PSM client node set DNS enable equals 0. So this is going to stop the name service. And we should start noticing. Okay, this has been up for 3 minutes. Everything looks great. Okay, so I'm already getting a bind, a critical, no process name bind found crown. Okay, so right there, instantly now named is not working. To really hit home, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shut down the server. Let me just shut it down. So in a minute, what we're going to see is that this entire server is shut down. Now, while that's happening, what I'd like to show you as well is if I go back to the run wizard, right? If I go to DNS, so this is quite interesting as well. Again, if you're a DDI engineer, this is interesting. So if I go to DNS query, what this does is let me put DDI Express as an example, fully qualified domain name. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to monitor domains that you manage. So it's really cool because it allows you to monitor based on making sure that you can query it, making sure that the fully qualified domain name points to the correct IP address. So I believe the IP address it points to is 1.1.1.1, right? And then you can specify the DNS server that you want to query it against, the authoritative server. So 192.168.3.101, and I want an authoritative response. So in terms of the query responses, we want DNS resolution. So we want to be able to respond, and we want to go even further and make sure that it does respond with the correct IP address. could change, of course. Okay, and then go next, and then just finish. So now I'm monitoring a domain, so which is really, really cool. So not only are you monitoring the DNS service, the named, on your BDDS, but you can also monitor the zones and make sure that the zones are resolving properly. So if I go back to my home dashboard, I can see now that 2 hosts are down. Okay, so the reason why 2 hosts are down is because I start monitoring the zone ddixpress.com, and that is the BDDS, the DNS server that's authoritative for that zone, is this IP address 192.168.3.101. So I'm getting 2 different alerts. The DNS server is down, and the zone is also down, which makes perfect sense. If I go back to my dashboard, now I can see I'm going to get all these different alerts. So this is pretty cool. I can select on it. Again, I can get a lot of information right on this. I can get there's a performance. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. But again, this demo was just to showcase, how to use Nagios to monitor your BlueCat appliances. I hope you like it. Let me know if you have any questions about configuring it in any way. Yeah, thanks for watching. Talk to you later.